Okay. Hi, my name is Frank. I have no fucking clue if anyone's watching this. It took me like a good old 10 minutes to get YouTube to finally decide to frickin' work. Um, yeah, it was just a black screen for a while, which is great. I have my morning coffee. We're working in Unity. This is usually where I do a little bit of a personal hour. I don't really feel like I did stuff, but there's nothing I'm too comfortable sharing, and I'm honestly super okay if you think that my life is super boring. So, I'm just gonna actually get to what we're gonna do today. Okay, let me open up MS Paint like a normal person. Boom. Okay, boom. All right. Let me get my list of stuff. Boom, you get to kind of see my obsidian window just for a bit. Okay. We actually did the normal pre-stream stuff. So last time, we're actually going to start out with a recap of last time. So last time we got camera shake working. And then we worked a little bit on kicking. So let's sort of like, let's look at the state of it. Camera shake is working great. We have camera shake for the weapons and for blocking and for kicking and being kicked and all of that stuff. So, okay. We start the day strong. I wish it would just refresh the default prefabs on load, and honestly, I might try and find a way to write a script that just does that. Okay, now it's working. So we have our sword, and you can see we have a little bit of camera shake as we swing. And honestly, I think my favorite instance of the camera shake is this one. It's the one that just sort of makes the most sense. So we have that, and then if we hit F, you can see that we sort of kick, but we don't actually do any real kicking. So what is going on in the editor? What I'm basically trying to do is we have our client, which has this kick trigger, and if we hit F, you can see that box appears for a little bit. And this is basically just probing right in front of our character and trying to detect, hey, are we kicking anyone? And that will actually, in our code, send, let me go, we don't need weapon sways anymore. I actually did that off stream just to progress it a little bit because it was going to be kind of boring. So when we kick someone, we make sure that they have a health component, just to make sure that they are a player. And then either if friendly fire is on, or if the teams are different, then we kick them. And we send what's called a kick signal with a direction vector. And when we send this kick signal, it really just sends to a different player combat manager a kick signal which saves a vector, which is synced over the network. And then every physics update, we check this kick signal. So if we're the owner of the player, we check, and then we can consume this kick signal. And then we just trigger some weapon sway and camera shake. Hey. I still don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm assuming it's Amin. But yeah, how you doing? It's been a minute. I stream on both Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Just because I know some people prefer Twitch and some people prefer YouTube, so I'm on both. Also, if you have YouTube Premium, you can just watch on YouTube. Yeah, I got it. It's a meme. Sweet. Okay. Okay. I actually I saw the follower notification and I was like, I gotta figure out some way to pronounce it that isn't anime, because that's probably not it. So yeah. Jeez. So today we're sort of working on getting kicking working. The whole goal of the mechanic of kicking is that we can push players back. So there's three sort of gameplay elements. We have swinging the sword, we have blocking, which will block incoming damage, and we're gonna have a kick, and that'll just push people back. At some point, I will need to open up Unreal to get a comparison to what it felt like there. But this is what we have so far. We have a little bit of a camera shake and a weapon sway to indicate like, hey, there is a kick going. And I actually did some work last night trying to get a little leg shown. And we're going to have a first-person one and a third-person one, but right now I think it's just on first-person. So we have a little kick visual which moves with our weapon, and it has a little kick animation. So let's see, can I play this? It's really quick. It's just gonna play once. It's very short. It's 0.2 seconds, but it's just gonna kick the leg out, and it's just gonna act as a little visual. So that way we don't need to, I don't know why I started the sentence with we don't need to. But it's going to act as a visual to give the player some indication that we have kicking going. Do I have any experience with Unreal? I have the world's smallest amount of experience with Unreal. When Unity was trying to shit the bed or shoot itself in the foot or whichever metaphor you want to go with, I actually tried to swap to Unreal. So let's see. That week it was kind of lucky. There was a melee combat package that I sort of just played around with, and it was actually my experience in Unreal with that melee combat package that got me to completely reevaluate how I was going. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? If you're new here, my name is Frank. I'm working on a multiplayer first-person sword combat game, and I'm still in the minimum viable product phase. But every time I stream, I typically get sidetracked and do stuff that is tangentially related. So right now I'm showing off an Unreal project, which kind of gave me an existential crisis and made me completely reevaluate everything about my game, because this is a package off of the Unreal Marketplace, and so it works with multiplayer, and it has kicking, which if I can kick someone really quick, you can see it causes the other player to ragdoll and get pushed back. Yeah. Unreal is it's a really easy engine to get something that looks nice, but I find that because of that, a lot of the games end up looking very similar. I feel like I know Cyberpunk isn't, maybe it's not even an Unreal thing, because Cyberpunk's not Unreal. But a lot of modern games, because they all sort of go for that as real as possible look, end up looking similar, at least lighting wise. Okay. Boom. Yeah. So it was literally the mechanic of kicking that gave me an entire existential crisis and caused me to, I think, literally go back to the drawing board, new design document, restart the project in Unity, because I'd been working on it in Unity for a while, and it had gotten so clogged, and I decided to do single player first and add multiplayer later, which is almost impossible. Yeah. Does Unreal have bad physics? I don't actually know. I don't know if Unreal has bad physics. It might. It might just be slower because they sort of... I mean, I know Unreal has a lot of their engine power going towards lighting and rendering and ray tracing, and sort of the graphics are the main draw of Unreal, from what I've heard. And also, it's a little easier to get multiplayer going. You can technically do anything in it. It's just a tool, but yeah, I don't know anything about Unreal versus Unity when it comes to physics systems. But I know I've been using Unities for a hell of a lot longer, so I'm just more used to it. The only thing that I think would get me to swap off of Unity at the moment is if they decided to shoot themselves in the foot proper. But yeah, okay, getting sort of back on track. We have a little bit of kicking going. We have our detection and our setting of a kick vector on the other players. So now I think the only things really left to do are actually consume the vector and have some movement mode to indicate that the players are being kicked, and then actually shoot them backwards, as well as show the leg. We got to have some sort of visual indication other than the shake that there is a kick going. You're in both chats. I appreciate the view on both sides. I really do. Okay. God, the hardest part of this is going to be actually syncing in the animations, because we're going to have, like with weapons, we have a first person and a third person visual, because the first person scaling is kind of weird. And then the third person one has to be networked. So it's just going to be fun to sort of get that working. Okay. So we're probably going to need references to both our animators. Okay, I'm just going to read this out. I'm also making a multiplayer game in Unity, and like everything I code revolves around the idea that it's network. Yeah, can't even fathom making a single player game and then making it later multiplayer. Yeah, no, that was my experience. Because I designed almost identical systems to what's currently here. And then I was like, okay, it's multiplayer time. And then I was like, how do we actually sync movement? How do we sync anything? How do we do damage? Because you can have separate instances of games running, but then you have to tell them all, you have to communicate everything to keep them in sync. And that's the part that's really, really hard. I am using the FishNet library for Unity, which makes it a hell of a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. But it's still, for lack of a better word, fucky. Because there's just so much you have to do. All right. Excuse my poor drawing. We need a first-person visual, a third-person visual, which is going to need to be networked. And then we're going to need to consume the vector. And then do the movement mode. You've heard good and bad things about FishNet. I would love to hear the bad things. And using netcode for game objects with relay. So I don't 100% know what relay is. I know what netcode for game objects is, and I was really considering using it, but I felt like it was still a little too early in development Not that FishNet is necessarily like more stable. They update it like every 2 weeks, but yeah. I went with FishNet just because it seemed really easy to get off the ground with. Okay. Let's see. Oh, how do I do this? We have weapons. Is it hit detection? It might be hit detection. I know I need to start the actual swing animation, but where do I do that? This is the most backwards way of finding where this is used, but if this is used somewhere, then that is the place with the animator. Okay. Okay, attack animation. That's how we do it. I'm just going to get both of the references to these. Oh, I really hope my chair has been acting up recently. This is like the most side tangent rant of side tangent rants, but it is deciding to just randomly drop, which is really, really fun. Okay, so we're going to set both of these to true. I'm just going to do if they exist. And then just set them to null by default. This is a protector. Whoop. And then once we're actually done doing the hit detection, then here we're going to want to actually probably first thing, like as soon as we turn off the hit detection, we're going to want to set that to false. Okay. Okay. And now the fun part is actually hooking all this stuff up. So we have our combat manager, and then in here we have our two animators. So I'm going to say that's the first person one, and then we're going to want a third person one. So just as part of the capsule, I'm going to want a kick visual, and if we do that, oh, that's idle. Okay, so it still works, and we can save a reference to it here, and I'm gonna put a TP there and an FP there just to indicate what is what. So this one will stay in sort of the same place, and this one will get hidden and shown. The weapons are I'm trying to decide like what layer to put the first person leg on, because I think it's supposed to be on the weapon one, the weapon layer, just so it can be shown on the correct layer. I'm super great at talking. It needs to be drawn over anything that it could possibly go through, and on top of that, we don't want it to be shown in the third person view. So I'm gonna set up this way so that we can actually take a look at our character. Where are we? We're here. Okay, so the kick is happening. It's happening twice. And that's funny, it's so quick. But we can't see it because it's always behind that. Okay, so maybe we don't want it parented to the eye. We just want it parented like this. And as long as we still have a reference to it, we're good. Okay. So now we have a leg, which gets shown. That's fun. Okay, or no. Let's look at this. So it's staying in the same place regardless of where we are rotated. So we are probably going to want it parented to the eye. And maybe I should just improve the animation so it looks like it's kicking, and then it's just gonna, like, if you look straight down and it still swings out as if you're not bent over, it's just gonna break immersion a tad, but that's okay. Oh no, we don't want it there. Okay. And now the fun part, we get to animate. Oh, something's happening outside. I don't know what. Okay. Oh, hold on. We can just copy those keyframes, put them there. Boom. There's one frame that you can't really see it, so maybe we want to even push this further. Boom. Boom. Okay. I need to get background music for these streams because it's kind of quiet. And sometimes I just get completely lost in thought, and it's like, well, that's not very helpful. It's super quiet now. Oh, we turned off our main camera. I forgot. Okay. So now we should at least have something that we can see on the screen when we kick, ideally. It might be hidden under a weapon. So let's see. Okay, it's still playing twice, but it's there. Boom, boom. You can barely see it. I'm gonna actually stretch it out a little bit more. Kick. Okay. This is gonna be kind of goofy because I think you might actually be able to see that end there. Boom, boom. Okay. The good thing is this is for the first person one, so if we might need to use a different animation for the third person one, that's fine. Boom. Okay, that's long. And then we need to worry about our exit transition, which is this one. God, this is gonna be a totally interesting stream, Frank. Just tweaking an animator over and over and over again until it looks all right. I mean, it's not horrible. Okay, that actually looks all right. Boom, boom. Okay, so we have a leg. We have a first-person leg, so we can check that one off. Now we need to do our third-person visual, and then we need to make sure it's networked. I mean, I'm just gonna start with split screen, which is going to probably completely just destroy our animations. I've noticed, I don't know if it's just a bug with Unity, but when you have multiple rigged animators, so like right now we have rigged arms for our swords, then it decides that they're just gonna break. It's honestly, it's easier to just show you. I don't really know how to describe how they break, but they break. So like the animations are still there, but it's pretty clear that we have a little bit of an issue going on. Okay, what is the kick button? It's that. Okay, so we still need to parent it to the eye. But I honestly, that animation kind of works. It's funny. It's funny enough. I don't think I need to change it. I think I just need to parent that to the eye. Okay. And then we just need to stick a network animator on it, if I recall correctly. So yeah, we'll parent this to the eye. No, I'm gonna do a little more sophisticated solution because I just realized if we're like looking straight up, it's gonna like come out of thin air. So maybe it's not the greatest thing to do that. But you could theoretically kick someone that way. You know what? Fuck it. Let's play around. It's fine. Let's just do it. So now it's here. Yeah, network animator. There we go. And then probably a network transform so it can save the local rotation. You know what? We don't need to because we're already saving. How are we even doing the rotation for this? I don't recall. But I'm pretty sure things get rotated correctly. I mean, this gets rotated correctly, so we don't need a network transform. Okay. Yeah, part of the reason I'm using FishNet is just because it just has some components, like a network animator, that you can just drag and drop onto something. Um, and it's just mostly an ease of use thing because this is technically the first multiplayer game I've ever made. Or at least only concurrent multiplayer game. Okay. That's kind of goofy. That's kind of goofy. I'm gonna. Yeah. So, I mean, you can see it pretty well, but it's a little goofy. So now we just gotta make sure it's networked, and then we're good there. Um, you know, it's just the guy doing the praise the sun and also kicking the sky. Okay. Enough playing around. We're gonna build it, and I'm probably gonna use this as an attempt to get a bathroom break. So 0.2.9 kick anim testing. All right. Select folder. All right. I'm gonna be back in just a minute. Okay, classic Frank. I'm back. It built. I got to copy over the Steam ID text file or else it's going to kill itself. And we should be able to run it. So we just got to test if the kicking animation works over the network, and it should. We know that kicking itself works, so now it's just the visual representation of it that we need to confirm is working. And so if we start the game, boom, 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 boom. That works. And boom. God, I love that the network animator just works. It just works. Though I will say it's a little stretched. Okay. Cool. So that's actually like we're making good progress. If we're already done with the visuals, now we just have the movement mode. I just realized this is the last time list. So last time we got camera shake working, and we got the actual mechanic of kicking someone working. Now we just need to get kicked. So let me write down today, and we can actually just move. We can move some of this stuff over. How's that looking? That's looking all right. Boom. Okay. So now, yeah, we just need to do consuming the vector. Let me write down that this is all for kicking. And if possible, we also want to work on lunging. I don't know if lunging is going to exist, but I think this is mostly an arcade sword combat game. So being able to more accurately lock on to targets is probably a good thing. So yeah, we've officially shown leg. So let me just make note of that. We have a first and third person thingy. Shown the leg. At some point, we're gonna need to add in some, let's say mechanic blocking. So like if we're kicking or blocking the mechanic, we don't want to be able to swing the sword and sort of all the other things. We only want to be able to do one thing at a time. So if we're blocking or kicking, we don't want to be able to swing the sword. And we're going to have to sort of figure out how to check all that. It shouldn't be too hard. Should not be too hard. Gotta have a chaser. All right. Okay. Okay. I keep saying that. I was responding to Discord messages. Tune the fuck out. All right. So I'm pretty sure we're technically done with most of this combat manager except for this. We're gonna need to open up our player pawn and our player driver, because this is what controls movement. So we're going to need to get kicked. We're gonna need to get kicked. Bool underscore kicked is just gonna start false, and we're gonna want, the way that I'm gonna set this up is we're gonna have a function that starts a coroutine, and the coroutine is going to handle starting and stopping this Boolean value, which is then going to get sent to the server for authentication. So we're going to have on kicked, which is just going to exist as a normal function. And then we're going to need a private enumerator, kicked, timer, no, it's we got kicked. We're gonna set a value to something. We'll just set it, we'll call it kicked. We'll say we were kicked. So then at the start of the timer, so float timer equals 0.0f, and then while we're just gonna have, I'm gonna copy this, wait for the timer to finish. Right now I'm gonna say that this is for 0.2 seconds. So we're just gonna start the kick and then stop the kick. I believe. Yeah. Start the kick. So start the kicked movement, which is just gonna be underscore kicked equals true. And then at the end, we're gonna stop the kicked movement, which is just underscore kicked equals false. And that's like super simple. I'm going to have a coroutine for kicked coroutine. Just this is gonna start as null, and it's gonna just save a reference to this while it's running. So we only run it once, or once per real kick. So if kicked coroutine equals null. Oh, which means that we're probably going to want to set this to null at the end. Coroutine equals null. I know how to spell. Okay, so if kicked coroutine equals null, then we want to set it to a new coroutine. So start a coroutine, and this is just kicked. Probably could have typed that faster, but that's okay. So there we go, and that we just now need to hook up to our actual our kick signal. So do we have a reference to our player driver? What do we have here? We have our pawn. So we can use our pawn, send the signal to the player pawn / player driver. So we're gonna have a kicked direction, which is gonna need to get put in these. Oh God. That's gonna be the hardest part, is syncing all this stuff up. Movement is especially hard to sync, and then it's made even more impossible when you put it on some sort of event, some instantaneous thing that you now have to sync over whoever's starting the event, the player who's going to be acted upon in the server. It's just going to be a pain. I'm just going to drink the rest of this. All right. So we want to start the dash. And actually, I'm going to... Why did I say dash? We're going to start being kicked. Vector 3. Direction. So we're gonna call player pawn dot player driver dot on kicked, and just that we only need to call this once. I'm gonna do that. Direction. So we push the direction in there, and then kick direction is that. So the behavior is going to exist exactly as it did before, but we're going to save this value and then send it over, which means that we should be done with our player combat manager. I'm gonna need to test it, which means I'm unfortunately gonna need to build it. This is now a good time for me to remember to open Cookie Clicker, like a good little capitalist. And like capitalism, it's broken. Oh, hey, that's political. Okay. Okay, that can stay there. I just need it open so I make more cookies. All right. I'm gonna really quickly test if this is working in the editor. So can we do it with 2 players? Multiplayer. Let's create a demo lobby. Move ourselves over to the other team. And then if we kick, oh hey, something is having an issue there. So we have a kick signal with a direction, and then we should see. Ooh. Oh, okay. Well. Okay, that's just. Thought it wasn't syncing. I thought that the 001 was an issue, but it was because that's the direction we were looking. Kind of makes sense. Okay, so we have kick signals. We also have a crazy amount of issues showing and hiding things. That's incredibly interesting. Gonna add this to the list of bugs, and this can go with yeah, sometimes third-person swords are not shown. And actually, if they're blinking like that, that could be part of why they are the animations are broken. Sometimes they flicker. Let's see. On YouTube, the timestamp is 50 minutes. So 3:27:50. Sometimes they flicker. There we go. Okay. Thank God I'm live streaming, so I actually have like footage of everything that's breaking. All right, now we're gonna build this. What would be interesting to sort of test is it's possible that that is literally just a split screen issue, because I've had issues with split screen animation for as long as I can remember, and it's possible. Like I've tested it with just 2 clients existing on their own, and it really only happens on the split screen client. Everything else is fine. So I'm wondering if it's just breaking itself because of the split screen, and if I can fix the split screen, or if I can fix this issue where the sword isn't loading, then sometimes then if I can fix the issue where the sword isn't loading, I can fix the issue with split screen. God, I need to like work on my talking. It's early. I'm gonna blame it on that. But I've been up for a minute, so it's not like I can really say anything about it. Oh, that's what I was gonna do today with sword combos. Ooh. Sorry, I looked at my list of things to do, and I was like, sword combos. Okay, so I'm gonna start a host, and then I'm gonna join it in the editor just so that we can see a debug log message being sent to it. And now I'm gonna join the other team, start the game. So if we kick, we get a kick signal. We get a lot of kick signals. Oh, that's interesting. Boom. Huh. It's still being kicked. That's fun. Oh. Why is that not propagating? I mean, what happens if we kick this guy? That works once. So that's interesting. Okay. So something is happening and we're never actually finishing this coroutine. Or it's probably not even this, because this is getting triggered a bunch of times. And what's probably happening, if I had to bet, is that this value is not getting set. So let's debug log really quick, and let's check the kick direction value. Oh, that might mean that we have an issue with our blocking too. I just realized that maybe if we, okay, maybe if we block an attack as a client, we would receive that signal and then never be able to reset it. Okay, so I'm starting a host on the other screen, and I'm gonna join that host from the editor. I'm gonna swap teams. So, boom. Okay. Yeah. So it's just never getting reset. That's what's happening. I wonder, I wish I could get this into a permanent state of block. Nope, because it's going to require that. Okay. Okay. So we have a few issues. That's pretty clear. I want to test the blocking thing really quick to see if it's the method, if this method of setting our vector back to 0 is not working, because this is a sync var. So setting it like this inline doesn't exactly work. It's going to need to get reset on the server in order to actually get changed. Then I need to go back to the drawing board and maybe actually learn what a target RPC is. Yeah. So I'm going to push this to the other side. I'm going to add everything in Git. Okay, and then I gotta be really careful not to show my feet. Because if I show my feet, people are gonna sell them. Too good. They are too good. Alright. Now comes the super unfun part, which is just me. Whoa. Hi. Wow. That was loud. We love that. Okay. So now we get to create an online game. And we get to be blocking on this, on the desktop, and attacking on the client, or the laptop. Does it start an online game? I'm gonna join the other team. And now we can join this from the brand account. And we can start the game. Okay, so I am going to block, and I'm gonna attack from the other guy. That one works. I'm gonna block on that one and attack here. Ah, yes. Oh, okay. Let's see if so. This is, hold on, I have a full cam. Boom. So if I attack from here, you can see that the sword is getting progressively more and more. It's off to the side because the block signal is being added for way too long. If I let go, we're fine. But then as soon as we go back, we're not fine. Whereas on here, if I block, that's where the sword is supposed to be, in the middle of the screen. So what's happening is our block signal is never getting unset on here, which is why it is so far to the side of the screen. Okay. So we do need to learn what a target RPC is. I can't be a dumbass and do it the way that I want to do. I have to do it the proper way. Oh, I just full crashed Unity by stopping playtime. Love that. Okay, great. Woo. Okay. Wow, that was fun. That was a good thing to test. So we can't do things this way. We have kicking here, and we have blocking. Where's our check block signal function? So here's that. How we get to do the fun thing of looking up how target RPCs work. Okay. So, remote procedure calls. We have a server RPC, which gets run on the server. And that's how I've sort of been doing everything, but we can't really do that right now. We need a target RPC, which runs logic on a specific client. Which means that we need a network connection. Woo! Okay. I mean, objects contain owners, so what we can do is just only check this on the server. So if the server is initialized, then we want to check this, and then we want to consume it, and then we want to send an RPC for the rest of this. So this is rest is sent to target via target RPC, which means that we can create a target RPC. And do we have a function called block signal? Public void block signal. Sweet. So now we can just run this here. And so this will get run on a very specific client, meaning the one that we're using. And so I believe we can just call block signal. How does this work again? So we have a target RPC called RPC set ammo. So we're going to need the owner of this object. So we need base.owner. Which this is the network connection. They call it con. I don't know why. Okay. And then we don't need anything after that. Yeah, this might be something only you want the owner to be aware of. Okay. Yeah, so then we check the block signal. So this is if we're the server. So we're going to check if we're the server, and then we're going to check if there's actually a value that we need to consume. And if there is, we're going to set this value to false or save it. Well, because we're on the server, we're going to consume it is the verbiage I'm using. And then we're going to tell whoever's actually blocking that they received a block signal. Now the fun part, we get to see if this works. So I'll test it with split screen, and then I will test it with the other computer, which I'm gonna prime this thing up because it full crashed Unity. It's gonna take forever to load the project again. Okay. Okay, so we can block here, which I'm just gonna set up this guy. Ooh, hey, fun. So now, oh, it would actually help testing this thing if I decided to either have them on different teams or to turn on friendly fire. Okay. So now we can attack. Okay, so we still get a block signal, and you can see that by when we get hit, but we don't take any damage, the sword... How long have I been in full cam for? I literally I'm such a bad streamer. Okay, so we can attack, we can block. When we block and attack, we get a little jolt. See? God, okay. So I had to look up the documentation for what a target RPC does. A target RPC is a FishNet feature which allows you to run logic on a specific client given a network connection. So I actually changed how we do checking the block signal. So checking the block signal is going to run on the server, and then the server is going to consume the value and then say, hey, Mr. Client, whoever you are, you got a block signal, and send that here. Wow. I don't know how long it's been on full cam. Jeez. I swear, guys, I'm not super new, but I'm kind of new. Okay. Wow. Jesus Christ. Okay. With that, we can now grab the other computer, and we can pull the changes that we just made. All right. Whew. We all make mistakes in the heat of passion, Jimbo. Okay. So now for the fun part is seeing if we can do the block switching. Oh, hold on. We don't want that at all. We want an online game. On the other team. Multiplayer. Online. Join the lobby. And we can start the game. Okay, so I'm going to block on the desktop, which is the host, and then I'm going to attack. And you can see that we are getting a proper block signal because we have a little bit of a jolt every time we get hit. Sweet. That's actually working. Not horrible. And then if I block on... Oh, no. That's how we were working. I'm going to block on the other guy and attack. And yeah, it is working. Cool. Cool. All right. That is... It full crashed. It full crashed again. I don't know why. I don't know why, but we now know what the proper workflow for one of these features is, and that is to use the almighty target RPC. So now we can do a very similar thing, and we can create a kicked signal. And this is where we're going to have our weapon sway. Ooh, where is the other kick signal? Check, kick signal, send, check. Okay. I mean, if it doesn't come up red, it works, right? That's how programming is. As long as you type it in and it doesn't tell you, hey, this is immediately wrong, we should be good. So then we want to check only on the server. Is server initialized? That goes you out so it's easier. Yeah, is server initialized? Then we want to check the value is not 0. Then this is where we're going to have our target RPC this time. Send target RPC to client. This is our kick signal. Kicked signal. Owner. And we're going to send a vector as well. So we want a vector 3 and call this direction. Okay, and here we want kick direction dot value. Boom time. All right, now we should be able to kick people correctly. So let's make sure it works with split screen, which it should, and then we can make sure it works over the network. One, two, oh, that's the controller that got added. Wow. Okay, and now we gotta go and turn off friendly fire. Turn on friendly fire is the right verbiage there. So now if we kick, we have a kick signal, which happens exactly once. And here we have another kick signal, which happens exactly once. Okay, and now we get to build it. And then we just want to make sure that this is still only happening once. Okay, I'm going to check cookie clicker. That was not worth it. That was just straight not worth it. Wow. Ooh. Ooh. We got a compiler error. Yeah. Okay. What we can do here. Tell me what the compiler error is. Alright, so this is a fun little moment where we just get to reload Unity. And then try and build it again. Boom. Gotta take your vitamins, kids. Okay. Now let's make sure it can play. And if it can play, it can probably also, you know, just work. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I need to get better at talking while I'm doing things. If it can enter play mode, it should be able to compile, because honestly, there's no real compiler errors. It just messed up something in some cache. I've run into this plenty of times. It's just Unity being Unity. God. It's gonna be so great once kicking works. Like, as long as we only have the singular event of the kick being consumed, it's gonna be so great. Because it's funny. It's funny. It feels good to push people back. It really completes that like trifecta of gameplay mechanics that make up your core loop. Like Halo has shooting, melee, and grenades. So you have ranged raycast, close raycast, which does a good bit of damage, and then you have an explosive, so an AoE, and it just works. And so here we have our trifecta being sword combat, meaning you can swing at people, and then you have blocking, so you can prevent incoming damage, and you also have kicking, so you can push people back. And those are like your 3 rock, paper, scissors options. Okay. Let's test this. I'm actually going to move this to the side. We're going to have one guy join and move to the other team. And then in the editor, I'm going to have another guy join. Join 2. So now we have 3. I can start the game. Ooh. Ooh, that's laggy. Okay. That's better. That's better. Alright, so I want to be able to kick the guy on the left. So, boom. See? One singular kick signal. Let's go. Okay. That's all we needed. That's all we needed. Ooh. We got it to crash. That is full on not working. That's like task manager not responding, not working. Yeah, using a lot of power. Cool. Okay, well, it's working. What's breaking it is it being in a game and the other client closing. Or the server closing while the client is in the game is just completely breaking it. So we're gonna force quit it, actually. Boom. And reload it up again. Wow. That's crazy. Nuts even. Okay. Alright, I have desktop audio off. I'm looking at a clip that my friend sent me. He's working on it's super sick. It's an isometric, like tile-based editor. Okay. All right. So we now have our kicked signal, which means that we have that and we have our direction, which means that we can technically cross off consuming the vector. And now it's the super fun part, which means that we get to close our combat manager, at least for now, and we get to build an entire new movement mode, which is going to half suck and also be really fun at the same time. Okay, that's teleporting, that's directed, that's settings. God, there's so much in this. It is gonna go here. So we have region, kicked. So we're gonna want a new custom movement mode, which is gonna just be the third one. That was the wrong thing to close out. And then let's look at directed movement as our little guide. So we're going to need, I believe it's 5 functions. So we're going to need a public. I don't like that I'm auto making it public. Is kicked. Which right now I'm just going to make return false. Public bool. We don't really need a can be kicked. You just kind of get kicked. God, because that implies past tense. Kicked launching. I hate this naming scheme with a passion, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. We're just going to leave that. So we have is directed, which we can pretty much just copy this line for our is being kicked. We just check if our movement mode is custom, and then we want it as kicked. Public void start kicked launch, in which this is where we're finally going to get to use our direction vector. And so we just want to check if is kicked, and we want to return. If we're already being kicked, we don't want to be kicked again. Okay, and then here we're gonna we want to make sure that we are being kicked. So if not is kicked, this is where we're gonna return. Okay. All right, so we're gonna need to save some variables, but we don't need time on spline. So we're just gonna turn off our constrained movement, so we can actually launch up off the ground, and then we're going to set ourselves to being kicked. Here's where we're gonna just save our direction. So private vector3 underscore direction underscore direction equals actual direction. So now we have this thing saved here, and then we get to do the fun thing of actually launching the character. How does dashing work? Because that dashing launches the character just the direction that we're already going. Ooh, okay. I'm gonna organize this in a second. I'll just say kicking. No. And we're gonna rename this. I'm just gonna break that, but I unfortunately can't just use direction. There's gonna be like a bunch of things that use like sliding direction, flying movement directions, climbing directions, directed movement directions. There's too many. But we want serialized field, private float, and we'll call this kicked impulse. Which I'm just gonna set to 10. And then we can use this here. So we'll take our direction, we'll normalize it, and then we'll launch the character. Yes, in that direction. Which could also be into the ground. And this could be very fucky in the end of the day. But, okay. I'm going to split this. Why did I split it that way? There we go. So that way we can look at our dash. The way that dashing works is we actually keep track of a button being pressed, but since we don't have a button being pressed, it's going to happen just instantaneously. So we check if we are dashing, and we set that we are. We're probably going to want these, because this is effectively our start. So if we've pressed the button and we're not already dashing, this is our start. Otherwise, we are dashing. And then we just, we don't need to do that. But we do need to do this stop check. I'm so great at talking. We're gonna go with that. Okay. So we constrain to the ground, and we're gonna want to make it so that the player just gets launched. We don't want to slow down with anything until we're done being kicked. Which means, do we want to save the rotation mode? Probably. Yeah. I'm just kind of just making this on the fly and copy pasting stuff to see if it works. Yeah. Okay. So this is our start. So we'll let the character leave the ground and also remove any possibility of friction. We're going to save its rotation mode, save the direction that we're going to get kicked, and then tell us to actually get kicked. Then we're going to, when we're actually in the process of being kicked, we're going to launch our character, and then we're going to need to keep some timer. I was gonna organize this. You're gonna get moved down here. So private float kicked timer equals 0.0f, which means that we're gonna want to set this here. Start the timer, kick timer equals 0.0f. And then if kicked timer is greater than, I think it's 0.2f is just the internal variable I'm using. We're going to want to stop. We're going to want to stop being kicked. So stop being kicked, which, horrible naming scheme aside, just means that we're going to stop launching the character. So then we're going to probably set it to falling. So set movement mode to movement mode falling. And then what else do we want to do? We want to go back to using the regular braking friction and save our rotation mode. Okay. So that actually should work. Should work. I'm going to really quickly go through and check some of our can functions and add just like to our dash, make sure that we're not being like in the process of being kicked. Because really it's just what's using this last rotation mode thing so that we don't accidentally set it in too many places, or like set it, save a value, and then set it again so we lose the original value and we keep the second one. I don't really want to do that. So we're going to add some conditions. Aren't being kicked. Oh, no. There we go. There's going to be way too many cans. Are directed. You know, I think directed movement can take precedence. Really, what is using this last rotation mode? So that's its declaration, it's in dashing, and it's in kicking. Okay. All right. I guess fun part. Let's see if this works. It's gonna be not a nail biter, but it's gonna be just weird. How am I calculating direction? So honestly, all of the it depends on the direction. So kicking direction or because the walking direction, I have no idea. That's all being handled by the movement library that I started with. But the kicking direction is just, it's the forward of whatever player actually kicked you. Oh, so let's get some split screen going. And then I got to get friendly fire on. Boom. Okay, so other than the fact that I don't think we ever call the start of the kick. Basically, the kick direction is just whatever direction the players are facing, and it kind of gets goofy because you can have like the leg shoot out. But that's just an animation thing. The leg is there's no collider on it. There shouldn't be a collider on it. I just realized that there might be. Yeah, so we're gonna remove that. Okay. And then we just take that kicking direction and then send it over the network to the player that's being kicked, and then they're gonna actually launch themselves. So that's fun. Okay, where is this? I think it's in the player driver because we have this kicking coroutine. Okay, so this is gonna need to get put into our input data. Yeah. Yeah, it might get wonky. I'm kind of here for a little bit of wonk. Um, if it ends up like shooting players down into the ground, I think that's kind of funny, but it should, like, I might need to project it according to an axis, like whatever axis is up, because we have some ground plane that we can use as we can just get the normal from, and then we can, I guess, project from that normal wherever we're going. Wow. I need to clear my throat more. Okay. So now we create this input struct somewhere, so we need to read that input. Underscore kicked. And then in our simulate call, we need to actually do something with it. Data.kicked. Let's start kicked launch, and then I guess we probably are also gonna need to send, what's it called? We're gonna need to also send a vector for the direction to actually get used. Just to keep things organized. So, vector 3. Okay. And then that doesn't exist. God, I hate how much is in this one file. It's gonna be in here, right? Yeah. Goes to the direction, and then we'll reset it there. Okay. So now we save our direction. We can in our simulate, now we can just actually send the direction, which is from our input data dot kick direction. And I think that's all we need to do for now. In order to make this all client-side predictive, we're gonna need to add a bunch of stuff to our replicate struct, but I don't feel like doing that right now. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got. I'm really hoping this works. because it's so convoluted. We take an input, run a hit detection scan, get a hit, pick a hit, send that to the server. The server then tells what client got kicked that they've been kicked. Now they need to send an input thing to the server, which gets predicted and validated, and then they actually launch themselves, which is a super long process. But if it works, it works. I only added one. That was the controller I added. Cool. There's the other controller. Boom. Okay. Does it work the other way around? Oh, besides the fact that we're being kicked. The only way I can tell is because I'm moving the stick to move the player around, and it's not working. So we are in the process of being kicked. But we need to now stop being kicked. Okay. So we start the kicked launch. I guess it's debugging time. We're going to just set a bunch of logs and see what happens. We also have a kicked impulse of 10. Okay, so the first thing that is immediately wrong is that we have a timer, but we in nowhere add to this timer. Kicked timer plus equal. I think it's just called delta time. Okay, and now we can run it back and see if this works. What the fuck? I just got an eBay ad for a Dyson vacuum on my watch. What has the world come to? Okay. Please work. Okay, well, we lose our movement. So now it's the super fun time of checking what this timer is. Okay, so debug.log. We're going to want to check a few things. The first is, are we kicked? Are we being kicked? Kicked. So that needs to be true in order to pass. Then we want to check our kick timer. Kicked timer. And then lastly, we want to check our kicked direction. Okay. Let's get a game going. All right. Boom. Boom. Ooh. Huh. Huh. Interesting. We're not even here. We're not getting this. So, okay. Explanation of process. We have a debug log, which needs to be, this function needs to get called, this function is supposed to get called, and it checks if things are the way that they are. Are we being kicked? Then we do the stuff. You know what's never being called? The function that checks all of this shit. Fuck. Okay, so the reason that there's 0 references is because we now need to go to whatever is calling all of our is functions, and we need to add it in. That's not the right place. Is it methods? Okay. So it's called dashing. It's getting called in a few places. Oh, why are we looking at stop dashing? We want to look at dashing, which is being called in move. And here we want to handle our kicked movement. God. Okay. Wow. Jesus. Sometimes my own stupidity amazes me. Like, I've literally made a video about adding movement modes to this library. And one of my biggest points is make sure you actually call the thing that handles your movement. Didn't do it. Practice what I preach, not what I do. Man. That's so funny. It's great. Oh. Boom. Boom. Now we can start the game. And okay. Maybe that's a little strong. Just maybe that's a little strong. Okay, you can kind of bully people a little bit. Boom. Wow. Okay. So we need to set our friction back, but oh no. Okay. So we do need to set our friction back, but other than that, that's fucking hilarious. Okay, my dad is asking if I have a minute. How do I tell him, hey, no? I am streaming. I will end at 1. Okay. Okay. Wow. So yeah, now we just want to make sure that our what is our friction before, and how do we set it back? I gotta close so many things. Okay, so we can close our methods. So condensed. Okay. So we call this sometimes ground friction sliding. Okay. You know what? I'm going to set it to ground friction. When we stop sliding, do we not set it back to sliding? I mean, we set this to false. I know that. Okay. It's got to be somewhere. What is this control? Should we use separate braking friction? That one makes sense. Speed. This is the value used in all movement modes if that is through. Okay. Well, then how come it's not? What is it by default? We should see what it is by default and then go back to that. I also want to kind of play with the idea of adding a little bit of an upwards component, because right now we get the forwards, which is great, but I think that means that we might need to like crouch and look up to get someone launched vertically. Okay. Player prefab. Let's look at our player pawn. And here are friction, braking, deceleration, lateral friction, ground friction is 8. Okay, so it should get set back to 8. Otherwise, you know what? I'm just gonna set it to 8. That's so funny that it launches the character. It launches him. I think it might be worth it to tame that just a tad. I say a tad, that's almost half. Yeah, so we'll set that to, I'm gonna set it to 7.5. And then let's try it. Basically, I just want the friction working again. And if the friction is working again, then we want to, I guess, more accurately tame the launch itself. Okay. Boom. Okay, that's still super strong. And do we have friction again? No. Oh, we should probably constrain him to the ground again. Yeah, that might be something we want to do. That will allow us to jump. And then we set our last rotation mode. Okay. We're getting closer. Then we gotta somehow tame this thing. Setting the braking friction to 0 is kind of funny. I also want to see if I can launch a character up. Okay. Okay, that's slightly better. And here, oh, okay. So what's probably happening is we just weren't constrained to the plane anymore. Okay, so if I do this and I kick, we still slide along the ground. Okay. I think we can get rid of that line because now we're just going to use the normal friction. We're constrained to the ground again. That makes sense. I guess it's tuning time, and then once we're done tuning, it's probably time to add a little bit of an arc. Just a little bit. Okay. I also need to make sure that it's working over the network, which would probably be a good thing to do. Okay. Yes, can we get away without that line? Yeah, we can. Boom. It's aggro. It's super aggro. I mean, it's a little, okay, it's a little aggro. I did not hit that. Maybe I did. Okay. So let's tame that a tad. Let's go to our player pawn and set that value to maybe like 4. Especially because we have some deceleration for like sliding and dashing, and we don't have that here. Okay, boom, boom. Yeah, we also need to get this a little more consistent. But it looks pretty consistent. I think the only thing that's a little disappointing is that there's a tad bit of delay between when someone gets kicked and when they move. Is you'd almost wish that it happened a little faster. What we could do is right now what's happening is we wait for I'm going to draw this out. This is maybe the worst part of the design. So we start with the kick, and I'm going to say that includes the hit detection. And so this sets a sync var. That's a sync var. Sync var. Sync var set, which the server reads. And then we do a target RPC. RPC. And then this actually starts the movement mode. And so we actually need to sync way more than is probably necessary in order to send this. It's just a signal, really. We could have our kick go straight to the target RPC. And that way we don't have to wait for a sync var to get set. We can just run this target RPC. We can go, hey, you got kicked. And then we kick him. The hardest part then is going to be making sure that the server knows and sort of keeping it in sync. But we might be able to just get away with that. Okay. I really quickly want to make sure that this works. No, not Control P. Control Shift B. I want to make sure that it works over the network. So I'm going to build it. While it's being built, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I'll be back in a minute. Okay. Oh, I just got a haircut. Now I gotta figure out how to do the whole hair thing again. All right. So let's see if kicking works over the network. I expect that there's still gonna be a good chunk of delay. Between them. So if I hit F, yeah, boom. So the client can get kicked, and now the fun part, can the server get kicked? Boom. Okay. All right, so that's actually working. So now it's just sort of like optimization time. Let me pull up the old MS Paint. So we have the movement mode now. So the only things that I kind of want to do, and I'm going to write these in gray so we know it's a different list, is to add a normal component. And I'm going to draw a picture to kick. So that is this direction. If we have two players, it's that direction. Just to get them off the ground a little bit. And I want to optimize. Basically just see if we can remove the server syncing. Because realistically, we don't exactly need to do this whole long process. We can just go kick to RPC, I think. So the first thing I want to do is like both of these are going to happen in the player combat manager. I think as far as the movement mode goes and as far as being kicked, that's working great. It's just the combat manager that we need to look at, and it's just our kicking section. Okay. So we get this vector 10 kick signal. We have our forward plus, I guess, kick forward dot up times 0.25f. And this is probably going to mark it as redundant, but this way we add a little bit of an up to our direction. And maybe that might be enough to check that box. Just maybe. All this loads. Let's get another. I hate it when it just gives me one of those. That's the worst golden cookie. I want a bonus. You get so much more from the bonus. Okay. So we'll do this just in split screen because we know it's working over the network. And all we're really changing is a vector value. So that was the wrong thing. We're going to want, if we're doing it this way, we want friendly fire on. Boom. It's a little wonky. Yeah, I'm kind of here for the wonk, but that's almost unfair. You get a lot of distance. Like, that's actually just getting us to the other side of out of bounds. Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. I do want to see if we can get a more angled direction. Just add some up to it.
And then we're going to need to maybe make this a setting. How strong can the kick impulse be?
Where's my settings list? I thought I had a settings list.
Oh, it's all the way at the bottom. Okay.
Kick, impulse,
Strength.
okay. We can add our 2 players. Multiplayer, online.
Oh, fine.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to get some up. But it really seems like it's just going forwards. We want our Y component to be a little stronger. It could be... Yeah, that's getting a little bit of an up. Okay. Maybe we just want this at a 45-degree angle. Maybe we just want it at 45 degrees. I also might want to set it to be this 2/3 of this, just so it's like a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Multiplayer. I'm gonna just move my mouse. Okay. Yeah, so that's a little bit of an up, and if we're looking down,
We don't get nearly as much of an up.
but that adds more in the direction that we're looking, I guess. No, it should be normalized, so the strength is there. The strength should be fine. Okay, let's return to the lobby. Let's go to the training ground. And now the super fun part of let's launch people. What I really want to see is how this plays on creation. Because realistically, there's this big ass bridge, and I don't want to have to like tune this down or make it so you can't kick people. But it's like, that shoots you way the fuck back, and it's gonna be really mean. But you can also shoot people way the fuck off the side. Look at that little hint. When there was no other player, the animations were fine. That's whack. Boom. It is nice that they kind of bounce. I wonder if I was to do that. You can be really mean, and if you just crouch right behind and look up, that gets more of a vertical. Okay, so now we can just tune the strength. This is actually like a fun mechanic. Boom. Boom. Okay, some of these we do need to figure out how the fuck they're just launching to the stratosphere and back. Because sometimes we're getting launched way too far. And I'm not 100% sure why. I don't know. Like, this is almost brutal. You can either get an attack in, or you can kick them off the side. Why would you ever attack them then? If you can just kill them like that. I mean, it's funny. Unless swords did, like,
99% damage and kicking did like a little bit, or if the kicking strength is way the fuck down. Boom. Yeah, if you get him in the air. Okay, we do actually want some amount of braking friction then. Like when we're dashing, how much do we have? I'm gonna add this as a setting. Kick friction setting. But right now we set it to 0, and when we dash, we set it. Oh, this is slide. How do we set it when we dash? We set it to 0 while we dash, but we also dash for like a split second. We don't dash for too long. What is the sliding ground friction then? We don't really have a value to show off. Player pawn. Where is sliding? Ground friction sliding. Unless this is hid in the inspector. Yeah, sliding, it's the third thing. I mean, it's not actually drawing some of this stuff. Oh, maybe it is? Oh, it's all the way down here. Okay, so it's 0.5. It's 0.5. I'm going to use the sliding ground friction here. Just because it's a little crazy how far you can get someone if they're just in the air. They just shoot. They just shoot. Okay. Boom. Alright. Let's see how this is looking. Boom. That's actually not horrible. Boom. It's still a little random. And if we're here, we can get them going a little further. Let me try and get it just to the top, and now we can play putt-putt. Boom. Okay, this is a lot more reasonable. I think if the players were actually controlling themselves, this is more reasonable, but you can just get a good kick off the side. Which makes me then think that we should tune it even lower. Sometimes the kick's just going to be bad. Because yeah, that's a little crazy. This is a super interesting stream of me tweaking values, but I think this has a lot of potential to be fun. It's just also gonna be a pain to play against. Yeah, the kick impulse is 4. I'm gonna set it to 3. Just to hone it a little bit. And we can also change the amount of time that the launch happens for. Like maybe it should be 0.1 seconds. That's gonna tame it a lot because it's just gonna half how long that they're in the air for. I kind of want all this to be configurable, actually. So we have an impulse. Where's that set? Ground friction kicked, and we can just call this friction kicked. doesn't need to follow that naming scheme. And then what was the last thing? Was the length, the duration of this impulse. Which equals 0.15f. And then we can just steal that and put that there. Okay. We know we're being kicked. We have visual feedback of it. Oh, we don't want the friction to be that much, but maybe 0.5. And then it'll have to compile again. Okay. All right. We just changed a bunch of values. Hopefully it's a little more tame, but worst case we can just control them in the inspector. Boom. Okay. All right, let's see how that looks. That's not horrible. Boom. It seems a little more consistent. But it's still very strong. It's still very strong. It's so funny that the animations are fixed for when there's only one player. Boom. Because you can still just whoop, shoot him off the side. Ooh, which... Okay. I'm swapping controllers. Yeah, this amount of strength is like really good for like fighting things that aren't other people, but just the ability to say run up to the side and just bam, shoot them off is going to be kind of annoying. Unless you can squeak by people really, really quickly. You know, also another thing that could be happening. I just made a realization. So this is sort of our pattern for what happens. We kick, we sync a sync var, the server reads that variable, then sends a target RPC to set the movement mode. But what's kind of happening is this kick is actually a lot more. I'm gonna write down kick. So this kick takes 0.2 seconds. And that is because it has to do our button press is what triggers it. Then we have to do our hit detection. And then we have to choose someone. So what we might want to do is change, because this hit detection period right here is that 0.2 seconds. This starts the 0.2 seconds, and this choose is our end. I should do those in different colors, actually. So our button starts it, and choosing ends it. But hit detection runs for a certain amount of time. And then we don't kick anyone until the end of that amount of time. And that fifth of a second plus, this probably takes 0.1 seconds, and this probably takes 0.1 seconds, is why it feels like we have a whole half a second delay between kicking someone and them being kicked. So let me just go really quick. We have our movement mode, but we want to tune the distance of the kick, and we want to optimize in parentheses. I'm just writing this into my own notes. Optimize how long it takes to kick someone. Because it's taking maybe just a little too long. Maybe just a little too long. Okay. Value time. What can we do to shorten this? So we can increase the friction. I'm going to set that to 1. I'm going to set this impulse. I'm going to leave that at 3. And I'm going to set this to 0.1. So the impulse is only 0.1 seconds. Usual input is 0.033 for 60, or 0.016, because that's 1/60th of a second. No matter how much we want the dash to exist longer, or how many frames you have. Let me just get a whole complete thought out. Input is checked every 60th of a second, regardless of what the frame rate is, just to keep it sort of fair. And also, you're never going to get 60 inputs in every single second. Okay, just to make this a little easier, we're going to need this guy to jump off. Okay. Okay, that's more reasonable. You can still just shoot him off the side. Yeah. What are we gonna do? I mean, this is already such like small values for this thing to even launch. Maybe set this to 0.05, so that's effectively 3 frames of impulse. God, I just smacked the shit out of my keyboard with my mouse. Don't know if you're able to hear that. Okay. And now we get to meet in the middle. And kick. That's still strong. That's still really strong. I mean, it feels better, but like, you can still just kick someone completely off the side of the map. Okay. Maybe this friction needs to be like 4. I mean, it's breaking friction. I don't know exactly if that's even gonna matter. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know a lot of things, but I really don't know this. We really just need to tame how far you're being launched. And also, I am sort of optimizing for one specific use case. Yeah. Boom. Yeah, you can still just launch people. Okay, maybe I'm gonna go super small, and we're gonna make this point 0.25. So that's like effectively 1 frame. It's not, that would be if it was at 40 FPS. So it'd be 0.16 for 60 frames, but that's fine. That's fine. Whatever. Because I actually don't think that this braking friction matters, because that's braking. Whenever acceleration equals 0, or if the character is exceeding max speed. It's not over max speed. We can also include a velocity check, maybe, to get players out of the launch. So maybe if we hit some sort of max kicking velocity, then it'll just stop the launch. I'm gonna do that. You know what? Fine. I'm gonna do that. We're gonna have a max velocity. And then once, I don't know what this is gonna be, but maybe 10 meters per second. Okay. So now we're going to stop if we've either applied the impulse for a certain amount of time, or if we've hit some max velocity. And I don't know what the like peak of those velocities are. So we're just going to play around with it. Okay, this at least feels a little more consistent. It might not be. Boom. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna debug log what the velocity is. Debug.log. And just see what it is while we're being kicked. And see what it sort of peaks at, and then put it a little less than that. Because ideally I don't want players to be able to be kicked more than like 6 meters. Just so that it doesn't just instantly shoot you off of any sort of bridge or anything, unless the bridge is really thin. And maybe, 10 meters in a second is kind of fast. Just a little fast. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're just like, yeah, if the kick timer is greater than the impulse duration, or if the velocity is greater than that, we set the movement mode, that's fine. What is, I mean, okay, we can look at this a little more closely. We start at 0, we go to 3, and then you can see that we don't fully slow down, but we only really get like, there's this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 frames or 13 physics updates of this, and we are exceeding that velocity greatly. Oh. Here's probably why. So, in our player driver, one of the first things I did was we just created a enumerator, which is in here. And it sets this for 0.2 seconds. 0.016. I'm going to set it to this because this is exactly the length of one physics update. And it's actually, I'm going to set it to a variable so that way if we change how long a physics update is, we can use that. So we're using this tick delta. I know what the value is, so I set it to that. We want for one tick in the tick delta to send this kick signal. Because the launch is going to happen for a little longer than that, but we don't want to be repeatedly kicking, because then we'll still get that launch for however many frames, in this case 13 or 0.2 seconds, which is how long the input was being set for. Okay, that reassures me a little. It's gonna act a little more appropriately now, and it might be a lot tamer. So now if we kick them, you can see that we're barely nudging them. That's fine. Okay, we can work with that. Now we can actually tune the values because this is only happening for a split second. Cool. Okay, now we can set the impulse higher and our max velocity higher. I'm probably not going to change the max velocity, but we can at least set our impulse to be stronger. Because like dashing is an impulse of 10. So an impulse of 3 is kind of cuckoo. And also, an impulse of 3 is going to keep growing if we keep applying it. Yo. How you doing? Anna James Art, how you doing? I am currently in the process of testing a kicking mechanic, which is going to complete the big 3 trifecta of combat mechanics in my sword combat game. So we have attacking with a sword. The animations are broken, so I'm going to ask you to disregard that. But we have sword combat, meaning swinging. We have blocking, which the animation is ungodly broken. And then we have kicking. That's more reasonable. That's a much more reasonable kick than what we had. Sweet. Okay, so then now, if we set the map to that, we might not actually kick people off the side of it. Am I adding monetization to my game? Maybe. I'm super conflicted about certain monetization strategies. I have added a loot box system to a game before, but it always gave you a new item, and you could buy them very easily with in-game currency. I don't really like I plan on making this game probably like $5, and it's a game that you can play with friends. So I'm assuming that like if one person wants to play it, you're probably getting a good chunk of a friend group. So I don't need to nickel and dime people for skins or anything. I kind of want there to be depth or a reason to come back to it. So maybe instead of making things in-app purchases, I can make them unlockables. But haven't gotten there yet. I'm making the core game. Monetization is going to be more or less an afterthought, unless you are a publisher, and then it is the main reason that I'm making the game is to make money. Yeah. Just that's what you want to believe. I would never work for free, and I would never do anything if there wasn't money involved. Yeah. You make games on Roblox Studio, because you think Lua is like English but on code. Yeah, I have not actually used Lua. By the way, I see that there's people talking in both Twitch and YouTube chat. I'm talking to YouTube chat at the moment. I will get to Twitch chat in a second. I have not used Lua. From what I've heard, it's just like every other scripting language. If it's like English, then it's probably similar to Python, maybe? I feel like Python, you could actually just write English words in, and then that's like real code. And how am I doing? I'm doing good. I'm hungry. So if my brain is like all over the place, we'll blame it on the fact that I have not eaten yet. But I'll eat in time. I'm very happy that I got kicking working, because that was the sole reason why I refactored the project, was because I was like, okay, we needed to be multiplayer first. But the straw that broke the camel's back was that I tried to make this game again in Unreal, and there was a package that had kicking in it, and it was fun. Am I sick? No. If my voice sounds nasally, I mean it's spring where I'm at, so I might be a little allergic to something, but I'll just call it a French buff. I'm not French, but it's really easy for me to do the accent because my nose is what talks. Okay, I think we've officially tuned we've tuned that. So we're good there. Now we just need to sort of optimize this. I went through earlier and I sort of detailed how kicking works. So basically we have a process on whoever is actually doing the kicking where they click a button. That starts a period of hit detection, and at the end of that period we choose someone to get kicked. This takes 0.2 seconds, and then we set a sync var, which the server is going to read, and it's going to tell whoever got kicked that they've been kicked, and they're going to set the movement mode. And unfortunately this manifests in like a 0.3, 0.4 second delay. So I want to sort of change how hit detection works to, as soon as we find a player, kick them. Did I create this game all by myself? Mostly. So a lot of the movement stuff is from a Unity package called Easy Character Movement 2. It had a lot of the features in it, but I had to put them together in a way that worked synergistically, symbiotically, and then get it all networked. I'm using the FishNet library for networking. So those are like my two libraries that I actually brought in. Other than that, everything is mine. So I built the lobby code, I built the Steam integration, I built the combat systems on top of the movement. I'm currently working on getting the movement client-side predictive. But yeah, I spent a couple years prototyping, and it was all in single player. And then I decided, I could just add multiplayer later. When I finally got to multiplayer, I realized how much of a bitch that attitude is. And then I tried to implement multiplayer, and it sucked. So I just completely restarted and built it multiplayer from the ground up. So I've been working on this for a really long time. What do I think about Lua and Unity? I, again, have not used Lua, so I don't really know. I'm unsure. Sweet. Okay. So now it's the fun time of starting, or how do I describe this? Altering this section. I'm going to change how hit detection works. Oh, just Unity. I like Unity. I think that Unity is currently in the process of trying to shoot themselves in the foot with that whole monetization strategy. If I had to restart and learn everything again, I would learn Godot. because I think that the open source option is probably the one that's going to give you the least amount of hassle, and it's probably going to be the most worked on engine. But that's just because I feel like Unreal can do the same thing Unity did and just be like, oh yeah, we want more money, and then point the gun directly down. Yeah, it was like, you know, give us 20 cents per install, and then people could install multiple times. And then they announced all this via tweet and then walked it back like a week later. And then they were like, oh, actually, no, you don't have to do that. It was a mess. If I hadn't already started this in Unity, I would have just swapped to Unreal or Godot or something. How long have I been working on the game? That's a good question. The current iteration of the prototype, so actually having multiplayer working, since about November. But the what I'm describing is a very long prototyping phase. I've been working on this since August of 2021, getting some sword combat stuff and some movement stuff. This is the first proper first-person game I've made, and it's also the first proper multiplayer game I've made. So things are taking a lot more time than, you know, maybe a more established developer would be able to do them in. Okay. Hell yeah. Thanks for following the project. I typically stream Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be a little wonky for the next week because I have to be out of town to take care of some family. But, you know, probably starting the 8th, it's going to be pretty consistent. Yeah. I put videos and shorts up on YouTube if those are of interest to you. I think Twitch is at WikiNHN, but the YouTube is just Wiki. So I'm definitely more consistent at uploading on YouTube than I am streaming. But I feel like you have to pick one. I feel like some people are really consistent on YouTube and some people are really consistent on Twitch. You've only started coding since August or September of 2023. So that's about when I started this. Let me just pull up the channel. Ooh. Love not typing in a search box. Okay, so this is my channel. It is just Wiki. Yeah, so here's what's sort of live on there. I have videos which come out every Saturday is what I'm currently trying to put stuff out. That's my upload day. Words. And then I try and get shorts out as much as I can. And these are usually just stream clips, or it's like a cut up out of context version of a video that came out. Just because so many more people see shorts than they do the videos, so it pushes things a little bit further. Yeah, man. Okay, so you've only been coding since 2023, and like September is, so you've gotten maybe 6 months under your belt, man. I've been programming since I was in middle school, and it took me maybe 4 years to really figure out what I was doing because I didn't like look up how to do anything. I remember I wrote an entire game without even knowing how a for loop worked. So I would just run a function over and over again, and then I had if statements to change the logic, and the function ended up like I just copy pasted and altered values for like 1,000 lines. You mean line programming in lines? I don't know what that means. Oh, okay. Yeah. You can definitely block program younger. Yeah. Block programming since 2nd grade. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you now? And yes, I can put a link to my channel in the chat. Bingo. There you go. Yeah. Some people start programming super early. Like 2nd grade to me is nuts. 25 years old. Okay. I'm almost 23. That's how I'm gonna say it. But there's someone in YouTube chat who's been programming like Scratch block programming since 2nd grade, which is crazy to me. I barely knew how to write a sentence then. Make sure flag is set false. I don't know why I put the semicolon in the comment. Okay, so we're just gonna tell the coroutine. I just want to know how long you've been programming. If you started in 2nd grade, then my guess is you're in like middle school. Because I've had people come into chat and they're like, "Do you want to work on my project?" And then I have to, be like, "How old are you?" And they're like, 13. And I'm like, "No." Unfortunately, I can't I don't want to touch that. I don't want to get anywhere close. Tell the coroutine that we found someone. You're 9? Okay. So, okay. I will warn you. I think that chat message is going to be fine, but I know sometimes if you're in a chat, because technically the EULA says like you have to be a certain age. I think it's 13 to be on the site. Don't ever write out the phrase like "I'm 9 years old" because they'll ban you. And it's really hard to prove that you're over 13 because you usually don't get an ID until you're like 16, because they don't play around. So I will warn you about that. Message redacted. That's probably good. Yeah, one message. There you go. Yeah, that's I actually learned that from Pirate Software. He was streaming one day and someone was like, "Yo, I'm 13 years old," and then they instantly, or they said they were like 12, and they instantly got banned from the chat because technically, according to terms of service, you have to be a certain age. So yeah, I should not ask that question actually, because apparently people are way too young to be using this fucking website. Oh, hold on. I gotta watch my language. If you're... God. Oh, man. Yeah, no. They don't play around with the terms of service because there's, like, at least GDPR, and you have to be careful about whose data you're collecting. And then, at least, like, I'm in California, and the California law is you have to specify when something is made for kids, and you have to change how advertising works. So... it's a whole legal nightmare if people are underage. Okay, so now we should kick people slightly faster. Watch your language. Yeah. I'll try. It comes out naturally. I unfortunately have gotten into the habit of cursing as like an or anything like that. It's a bridge word. You're from Florida. Okay. I am from California. So we are on opposite ends of the country. Which is do you program? Because I do. Respond, just stop saying the F word. What? I don't want to. Why? I earned my right. Yeah, we got a lot of people in. It's always fun because since I have both Twitch and YouTube chat open, I have to sort of, what's it called? Swap between the two, and it's kind of hard to merge two conversations. You're from Portugal and you speak English and Portuguese. Well, I wish I knew how to greet you in Portuguese. But I only speak English, and then I took French in high school. And it is all gone. It is seriously all gone. Okay. Ooh, something broke there. Something broke there. Okay. So what was happening was we were just, if we hadn't hit the target, it'd keep on going. So setting it to true would tell it to keep going, and we need this to be false. So we just need one of these to break. So we just had to De Morgan's it, which is why we changed the or to an and we had to flip that. Let's just oi. I'm so bad at pronunciations. Okay. Now this should work slightly better. Meaning that if we kick, it should still only kick once. Okay, that's a lot more responsive. It is no longer just, it doesn't have to wait. There we go. That feels so much better. And it should work the other way around. Okay. So now I want to remove that one debug log that was telling us velocities, and then I want to build it. Okay. Because then we might have just actually finished. We fixed how that works, meaning that we might just have optimization. Optimization. It's just making it feel better. Because if anything is on a button, which it is, then you want it to feel as instantaneous as it can be. Okay. All right, we're building, which means that we get to look at Cookie Clicker. We keep, I swear, it's like every single golden cookie I've summoned today has just been the instantaneous amount, and it's like not that many cookies. It's like maybe 30 seconds worth, but if you can stack boosts, it's like you can get like a production boost from one of the units, you can get a click frenzy, or you can just get a normal frenzy. You can stack two of those, and that's so much better than an instantaneous amount of cookies, because it's like a sustained, like usually at least 30 seconds of a boost. That's like 30 times as many. Yeah, in British you speak oi. Oi, mate. What? Yeah, it's... I did not know you were a freelancer. What do you freelance? What, mate? Do you want me to give you a bottle of water? It's crazy. I feel like British people hate American English and American people hate British English. But then there's like different dialects of both, so you know, like a posh British and a proper British are completely different. Okay. So how does this work over the network? Boom. That feels good. That actually, I like that a lot. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm super good with this. Boom. Boom. Chicken burger or chicken sandwich? English Civil War. If there was an English Civil War, we would just... There's so many different... Like, you can just cross a street in London and they speak different English. I don't know. I mean, there's also who knows how many accents in the U.S. There's the Southern accent, the New York accent, the Midwestern accent, the Boston accent. Yeah. I mean, even just like, I live in the Bay Area, and like people from Sacramento they say crayon, and we say crayon, because there's an O in the word. So on, crayon. I don't know. Okay, I'm super happy with how this is working now. Boom. Boom. The bean's looking kind of thick. Yeah, well, they're just capsules. I'm not an artist by any means, and so this is all just programmer art. Like I had VR arms that I used, and I rigged those up to be the first person model. But other than that, like the leg is a cube, and the person is a capsule. Danny reference. I don't know the reference. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? So I think we're officially done with kicking, which is good because that was supposed to be done on Tuesday, and now it's done now. Love to show you my work if you don't mind. As long as your work is safer work, sure. I know a lot of, like, I had friends who were digital artists, and they did not safe for work stuff, and they made a lot of money with it. But yeah, I don't know if it's in the Twitch description. I should put it there, but I do have a Discord. If you want to join that, then maybe we can, yeah, if it's 100% safe, then definitely just don't put a link in the Twitch chat. I don't know if you can. Here, I'm just going to invite you to the server. There we go. And then we can have everyone in one chat. And then how young I am and how I know. No, I mean, listen, it's okay to know how to code. I don't think anyone would argue the opposite. But, you know, as long as you're learning to program because you want to learn to program, it's all good. It's all good. I know a lot of parents who want their kids to learn how to code, and it's like, you know, not everyone can be a programmer. We need like doctors and plumbers and electricians and, you know, people who do all kinds of things. It's sort of like how we can't only have entrepreneurs. If we only had entrepreneurs, no work would get done. Yeah, as long as it's something that you want to do, it's totally cool. What do you got to say? What is this important thing? You're making your own language. Okay. I need to ask, programming language or... Here, let me just... I'm doing multiple things. Accepted a friend request. There we go. Are you making a programming language or are you making a real language? Because one of those is harder. Want to help me making your own language? Want to help me speaking language? Don't ask me. I just butcher English usually. Like you can ask my friends. I don't know how to say words properly. It's a constant problem. So all right. God, what should I work on? I know like the other thing I wanted to get done today was lunging, but I think I'm going to push that to Monday. There is one thing I want to do though, and that is for better or for worse, uninstall Unreal. Oh, I don't want it open. I want to open the launcher. Got some very weird free time. Amen. Amen. I also have some very weird free time. I don't want this open. I want to open Epic Games Launcher, and I hope that this opens on the other screen. Yes. Project files not associated. Nope. Okay. How do I look at my versions? Is it in the library? No. Unreal Engine. Samples. That library. Okay. I want to uninstall this because it's so big. It's 60 gigs. And I don't need it. Okay. Finally. It only took from September to now, but we officially have feature parity from Unreal to Unity. It took way too long. All right, let's see this art. Yeah. Two. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, it's going to take a while to uninstall, which I think is crazy. But probably once this is done uninstalling, I'm going to call it because I've been up for 5 hours and I need to eat something. But in terms of like actual stream progress, we got kicking done. We got our first person visual. We got a networked third person one. We then consume the vector that gets sent over the network, and we have our movement mode, which is tweaked and tuned and feels good and isn't too overpowering. So yeah, we have kicking. We also redesigned how our hit detection works for kicking. So next stream is going to be Monday. Yeah, we did those two. Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice chatting with everyone. I'm glad I got some work done on this, and I'm glad it looks like we got a couple more people in the Discord. So I'll be active on there throughout. Yeah. And I'll be active on there probably throughout the weekend. It's been good. I don't have an outro, so I'm just gonna end it. Yeah, take care. I hope I see everyone